Hello, Internet, and welcome to another installment of the wuwtube radio show. I'm your host, Mark Frankowski, and for today, we're going to skip the news and move right into the special focus. The special focus for today's show is net neutrality. It's been in and out of coverage as the government has drawn and scrapped several proposals for a net neutrality bill. I wanted to discuss it now since we appear to be at the last few steps to an actual bill on the issue. So what is net neutrality? In a nutshell, it's the answer to the question of who controls your reception of the internet, and possibly other forms of telecommunication. The two sides of this argument of control are the telecommunications companies that laid the infrastructure to deliver the internet, and those of us screaming for an open and uncontrolled delivery of the internet. As it stands now, the convention has been an open delivery of the internet. The issue arose when it was uncovered that certain telecommunications companies were controlling the bandwidth users were receiving from certain websites. It turns out that users were receiving websites of partner companies of the telecommunications companies at higher rates than other websites. Well, if the telecommunications companies get kickbacks for increasing the bandwidth to compliant companies and decrease it to those who aren't willing to pay, what's the harm? Isn't that just the way business works? After all, the telecommunications companies made the investment to lay the infrastructure to deliver the internet. If we ever want to continue to harness the true power of the internet, the answer must be no. The only way to capitalize on the potential of an online globe is to ensure open and uncontrolled delivery of every byte of data on the internet to every user, regardless of the companies involved. We're in luck since the FCC is currently working on a proposal to ensure the protection of an open internet. This has come as a victory for nearly 2 million people who have been supporting open internet rulings by our government. After a long battle, the issue seems to be nearing an end, and it's a positive end for all of us. However, the issue of net neutrality brings to mind a more ubiquitous concept, and that's open source in the computing world. We've just won a battle for open delivery of the internet. Could that mean we're one step closer to government support or protection of open source software? I'd like to think so. And the reason I'd like to see governmental support or protection of open source is for the same reason millions of you wanted protection for an open internet. For-profit software companies have an enormous amount of leverage in the form of capital. Open source software companies have an enormous amount of leverage in the form of free development. That's why even without the capital of for-profit companies, open source software can quickly match the performance and distribution of for-profit companies. However, they could easily be threatened by for-profit companies. And the benefits of open source are so great that I would be outraged if that were to happen. That's why I feel government protection of open source companies may be a necessity in the future. The ability to call upon the resources of the entire online globe for the purpose of developing software, in my eyes, is vastly superior to relying on the resources of even a large software company. No matter how the future unfolds, the vital nature of technology to the entire globe is so prominent that so long as governments continue to listen to their constituents, I feel the right decisions and the right protections will be made to ensure the open and free development of technology worldwide. Well, that's all the time we have on this installment of the wuwtube radio show. I'd like to thank you for listening. If you liked what you heard, please rate, comment, and subscribe. And remember, keep your mind open.